Welcome so much. This panel is called Empowering Health Startups, Public-Private Collaborations for Innovation and Growth. And building a successful business in any industry is very hard and difficult. And doing it in highly regulated industries is even harder. And I think we can all agree that healthcare might be one of the most challenging ones to do so in. So for me, health tech entrepreneurs are a magical breed that deserves our admiration. It is very reassuring, though, to see that there is a growth in both health tech startups starting and being funded by both private institutions and public-private partnerships, but also the frequent collaboration between health tech and public health institutions. With me today to explore this topic and see how we can further empower health startups, we have Dr. Juan Delgado. He is a cardiologist and a full professor of medicine, and he leads an investigation group in heart failure at Foundation Research of the University Hospital 12 de Octubre in Madrid. Thank you. We also have Christine Kusk with us. She is an innovation specialist at the Estonian Health Insurance Fund, which is the main payer of healthcare in Estonia. She has previous experience from one of the biggest hospitals in Estonia as well, where she has project managed implementation of health innovation and specifically remote patient monitoring solutions. We also have Isabel Alfani. She is a biologist and a doctor of physiology at the University of Barcelona by training, and she's currently the general manager of EIT Health here in Spain. And Isabel has more than 16 years experience of both life and health sciences and international collaboration. Last but not least, we have Dr. Manuel Marina Breyes. He's a cardiologist, but also a co-founder and CEO of Eindhoven, which is a health tech company advancing early detection and precision medicine in cardiovascular care. So a big welcome to the audience and to the panel. Thank you for being here. Wonderful. I think we all can say that it takes guts, grit, a solid vision, a sound business model, a strong product market fit, immense talent, you name it, to make it in an industry. But in healthcare, you are then also faced with regulatory approval processes. You are struggling maybe with funding challenges due to a much longer time horizon. And there are market access and scalability challenges, to just name a few. And this panel, as I said, is aimed to look at how can we, despite all this, empower health startups. And what better way to start this off than by hearing from Manuel, the co-founder and CEO of Eindhoven, to see what your challenges are. But I'd like to start with asking you to just give us a short 30-second introduction to your company.
Thank you, Madeline. Pleasure to be here today. So what we do at Eindhoven is a health tech company operating in Europe mainly, but in 31 countries right now all over the world, and based in Madrid. And what we have created and what we are creating is a kind of a digital cardiologist. We are trying to automate repetitive tasks done by cardiologists. It's called Willem. It lives on the cloud. So you can ask him to process signals from the heart. And we support doctors and clients all over Europe, health tech institutions, pharma institutions, and medical device institutions dealing with those signals from the heart. Yeah. To diagnose patients and to deal with first cause of death, which is cardiovascular disease, and the major cost of healthcare, which is cardiovascular cost.
Very true. And Manuel, what would you say are the biggest challenges that are kind of deciding a little bit the future of your company that you cannot solve on your own, where you need public-private partnerships to succeed?
This is a very good topic for me, and I'm very happy to be here today because I have been really lucky in my life that, for me, being able to work with very strong people, strong professionals like Juan, like Isabel, all the mentors that I have had in my life, David Filgueiras, which is the leader of the Cardiovascular Research Center at CENIC, and my team now, which is very strong talent, and the previous discussion was about talent. We are being able to attract talent of 14 different nationalities right now from a company based in Madrid. And this is what partnerships are about. If you are able to find the way to collaborate with these very strong profiles, very strong institutions such as 12 de Octubre, among other hospitals, you are able to build value for the patients, to reduce the risk of those patients, and to add value to the healthcare system. Right? It's very difficult to manage it. There is a lot of complexity. But if you figure out how to work together and how to build those public-private collaborations and have access to this pool of experts on the field that understand how to work with a startup and how to mitigate the risk for the patient to deliver a product that is a software for healthcare. This is very beautiful, and you need the support from European funding, from institutions like AIT Health, from Estonia. So the project we are presenting today, I think it's, there are payers, there are European Commission money and grants. There is the ones dealing with patients and with the disease at the hospital, and the ones building the technology to try to transform that. So I think it's a very powerful way to start.
We'll come back to you a little bit later, but Isabel, before we continue, would you be able to share just a brief introduction to EIT Health for those in the audience that are unfamiliar with your organization?
Of course. So good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation and to share this great panel. So EIT Health is the European Institute of Innovation and Technology in Health. It's a private, public-private partnership co-founded by European Commission. So our mission is to bridge the gap between the excellent scientific production that we have in Europe, but then we know that we fail when we have to take this scientific production to the market, to patients, and make it a value for the society. So we were created with this mission to promote, incentivize, and dynamize the innovation ecosystems. In different types of sectors. We are the one working in the health one, but there are others in the food sector, digital, manufacturing, and so on. So we are there helping that such expertise and ideas and solutions indeed arrive to the market and to the patients in this case. And what we do is to promote the conversations. We not only grant projects, because we have our own calls, but we promote the discussions. We know that if all the stakeholders or the key ones are in the same table working together is when we will make it faster to the society. So it's what we have been promoting during 7 years now and for more.
But building off from where Manuel left off, like what are some of the concrete ways that you help health tech startups?
Okay, well, one of the main parts of our support for such initiatives are the calls, the competitive calls that we launch. So we are working in flagships, so priority areas for Europe. Let's say the data managing the secondary use of data, value-based healthcare. So we promote calls when we grant initiatives that together, different types of stakeholders are there working and with defined solutions, normally in the late stages of the development. So focusing also in the implementation, so or commercialization. So we are focused those parts. Is not we are not funding science, we are not funding research, but more closer to the implementation. So is where we focus. And we ask them, we ask to have all the key stakeholders that I mentioned, the ones that have the solutions, the payers, patients if possible, so they have to be together and collaborating.
Wonderful. So what you're describing are these consortiums that you're building, and I know Dr. Delgado and Christine, you are both involved in one of these consortium that Isabel is referring to. And I'd like to start with you, Dr. Delgado, like the Fateful project that we will come back to, but could you start by describing a little bit what the Fateful consortium is about, what you're trying to solve for, and why do you see value in your hospital participating in this consortium?
Thank you. And Fateful is an innovative project aimed at addressing a major public health problem, is heart failure, through an artificial intelligence tool named Wilhelm by Eindhoven. Fateful seeks to improve the diagnosis process of heart failure and management. Because heart failure is a big problem due to the prevalence affecting 2% of the European population, and also because it's the leading cause for hospitalization in patients over 65 years. So the diagnosing process in primary care setting is challenging, and in some cases, it occurs at the advanced stage of the disease. So, on the other hand, we have a basic tool, is the electrocardiogram. In the practical clinic, in primary care setting, and in cardiology, electrocardiogram capture the electrical signal of the heart. We can interpret some of them, but probably others remain elusive. So we are convinced that an artificial intelligence-assisted electrocardiogram analysis with Willen can enhance the accuracy of heart failure diagnosis and improve the patient care process. So this potential for improved care prompted our clinical or research group to join and actively participate in Faithful Consortium.
Yeah. So what the consortium is trying to do then is remove false positive referrals so that the right people are getting referred to specialists, reducing waiting lines, but then also by doing that, being able to diagnose heart failure patients earlier so that we decrease hospitalizations further down the line, which is a huge benefit to the healthcare system itself, because it's very costly to hospitalize heart failure patients. And this makes me turn to you, Krista. You are also part of this project, and you represent the Estonian Health Insurance Fund and as a payer in this program. Why are you engaged and involved in this consortium?
Well, I think I will bounce off from previous speakers as well. Everything needs to go in cooperation. There is so much potential in general when it comes to innovation in healthcare, but whatever is done, it needs to be done in collaboration together. So if there is something new being developed, you also have to think about, okay, is the payer actually ready to kind of accept it? Is the payer ready to start paying for it? Because from the Estonian perspective, we have a fee-for-service healthcare model. Not the best one. It needs some changes. So if you have these new models coming in, that's also an opportunity for us to kind of start bit by bit changing these payment reimbursement models. So I think it's key for us to be together when the development happens. So we're there early stages, because from the system side, it also takes time to kind of put the right things in place and reach the right agreements. Because otherwise, the implementation, it will be stalled year and year. I think it goes back into the, like, why majority of the, or like many of the companies fail, because there's trouble in actual real-world implementation. So how do you bring it together?
Yeah, very, very true. So how easy is it, would you say, for health startups to collaborate with public institutions? And what can we do, and what can you do as a payer to remove some of those barriers and obstacles?
I'm laughing because I can't speak for the startup side. I don't have the experience in that field. But from the public perspective and for the Health Insurance Fund, basically my main goal as an innovation specialist is to make sure that the right conditions are in place. And the right conditions also involve that we have really clear communication, what is needed, what is expected, what is the evidence level, going on and on, like the type of benefits and economic benefits the Health Insurance Fund is after. So just making sure that the communication is as clear as possible, what we are expecting, because the journey for a health startup is really, really long. And I think it will stay long because we are dealing with health in that sense that we need to be really, really cautious and minimize the risk as much as possible. One side when it comes to people's health, but the other is also the Health Insurance Fund is spending the public money. So we need to be minimizing the risk as much as possible. So then financing good products that have good evidence behind it.
Very, very true. Well, Isabel, as EIT Health, you see a lot of startups trying to bring their health tech solutions to healthcare systems and to patients. What would you say are the major strengths of public-private partnerships, and what needs to be improved in order to make it even more successful?
I think it's a part of what Christine was explaining. It's important to understand the whole ecosystem. So when we facilitate this conversation of all the actors, large companies, clinicians, payers, if they can sit in the same table to plan how to develop or how to implement the technology, it's much easier to go and being successful. So this is something that we do, facilitate this type of conversations. And we also try to work together with all the pieces also to adapt the processes or to improve the process for being prepared to adopt. This is something important also. If the payers are stuck in the same position as before, we won't progress faster. So all the ones, they have to have this general view for implement or to collaborate and advance in their own expertise, but knowing where to go together.
Yeah. EIT Health, co-founded by the European Union. How well would you say that Europe supports and drives health innovation compared to the rest of the world?
Well, we've always talk about the investment or the money that we have here, funding innovation, which is less than we should have. So if we compare to other big powerful countries, China, US, they have much more money being invested in this type of technologies. But here we have more advantages. We have, I think we are closer to each other to find how to do together and how to overcome barriers. We do have lots of barriers, but I think we are learning how to work these differences and make this as an advantage for the rest of the world. We have really, really great technologies coming from Europe, and this is something we have to elevate. But we still have some pending task issues with the investors to attract even more investors. But I think they should come here and learn from what have been doing. The projects that are great and being indeed successful here should be also used as a success case to attract even more investment. So we are working also in this direction.
Very true. And you're mentioning that there could be more investment, but Manuel, you and I caught up yesterday a little bit, and you mentioned that you have quite a unique situation where you're getting special funding. Would you like to share a little bit around that?
Yeah, well, we have raised, I think you have to be lucky to be successful in life and to be able to partner with strong profiles. We're able to raise more than 31 million right now euros, which for a health tech company, European one, is not so easy to do so. And part of that is public grants, right? So it's non-dilutive money, not just venture capital investing in us, which the top venture capital firms from US and Europe have already invested in Eindhoven, but also those grants. Those grants from European Commission, from EIT Health, from other public institutions, allows you to collaborate easier with the European healthcare systems and health research institutions. Private money in Europe is more difficult to integrate that money into a public or in a large consortium like the one we are building here. For example, it's 14 partners from Global, AstraZeneca Global, but also hospitals in Madrid, in Catalonia, the north, Santander, but also French company, but also Estonia, like Stockholm region. We are integrating with all the primary care setup of Stockholm region, right? We are already integrated from a digital way to process the EKGs from primary care in Stockholm, right? This is easier to be built with European grants and with public grants because it's already aligned with the way doctors and key opinion leaders and healthcare institutions are used to work. The mindset in China might be different. The mindset in the US is completely different. There is more public-private collaboration with clear KPIs and able to align on that. But I think we are also being successful thanks to that support from European Commission and from institutions like EIT Health.
Switching focus a little bit, so generating evidence of the clinical significance and the health economic viability is, for any kind of health solution, is key to succeed. And Manuel, how do you view this process of clinical trials, and how can public entities better support you as a health startup in this process?
This is really important. For me, the answer is the scientific method. the scientific method is one of the most powerful tools we have as humans. Like, we are here today and we use Wi-Fi and we use GPS and there's microphones because someone was using the scientific method to create innovation and technology. That's, our whole world is built through that, right? So that's clinical evidence again. In healthcare, you need to use the scientific method, which is you generate an hypothesis and you validate that hypothesis with a protocol, with stricted rules, and it's evidence-based knowledge that allows us to create knowledge that will remain forever. Every single knowledge that is created as humans, it will remain forever, right? There is wars, there is other stuff, but the knowledge will remain. And this is the scientific method, and this is the clinical evidence generation. You have to demonstrate that the technology that you are building works, that there is no risk for patients if you are operating in healthcare, that there is value, as Christine was saying, and this mindset from Estonia is, there is a reason why there is so many unicorns. The highest ratio of unicorns per citizen is Estonia. They have to be really proud of that. Why? Because of that mindset. If the technology works, I want to know how I'm going to pay it, how I'm going to reimburse that, right? This mindset is not all over Europe, and this mindset is not all over the world. But they are, since the beginning, she was saying, in early stage of the technology, let me know how to track the value. This will impact on waiting risk reduction, patients being attended instead of in 4 months, in 6 minutes by digitizing the process. Referrals being increased, costs being reduced, readmission at the hospital of heart failure being reduced. We are talking in Spain, heart failure readmission is 400 million a year. Just in Madrid, 83 million a year. We are talking about a lot of strong value proposition if we are successful here and reduce that by 20%, readmission at the hospital, as Juan is trying to do with leading the clinical part of this project. The value we can bring as far as cost reduction efficiency is massive. But we need to be able to track that in a scientific way. Otherwise, it will never become a reimbursed product.
No, and as back to what Christine said, you're spending public money, you're spending public trust. And Dr. Glade, as a care provider, you are responsible for both the patients and the care professionals, and are, as such, you're critical in both the setup and the execution of clinical trials. How do you view the process of clinical trials, and could it be made easier for both you as the care provider and for health startups, or is it as easy as it can be?
Yeah, in my opinion, the clinical trial process for healthcare startup is important, but challenging in some cases. As Manuel say, clinical trials are essential in order to evaluate if a new device, new treatments offer safety and is value for the patients. But as classical clinical trials need a lot of effort, money, time, in order to initiate clinical trials. So, in my opinion, there are 3 points in order to improve the process. First, a major challenge is the regulatory and administrative burden. It's incredible, so simplifying this process can accelerate and initiate early clinical trials. Second point, and also important, is to integrate the clinical trial into the healthcare workflow. It is important. An example for us is Faithful, is pragmatic clinical trials, introducing a minimal interventions. You can evaluate a technology, a treatment, or whatever. Because classical clinical trials need training, need coordinations, so is unnecessary in my opinion. And finally, Faithful is a good example, but it is important create a culture of collaborations in order to make more practical and more easier the clinical trial. So, in my opinion, making easier, simpler clinical trial process benefits to care provider, healthcare startup, and most important, patient.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems, because we're doing the clinical trials so that we can get to patients with confidence, right, that we are doing the right thing. So it comes back to implementation. And Kristen, I would like to turn to you, because you have a lot of experience from implementing health tech solutions from your previous role when you worked for the biggest hospital in Estonia. In your view, how should health startups approach clinical trials, regulatory approval processes, reimbursement, and implementation in healthcare? A small question.
I mean, first thing, I agree that the process most definitely can be made easier or more clear. But then again, what I spoke about previously, if the clinical trial, randomized control trial is the golden standard, with what will you replace it? That you will actually get the good evidence, that you will create the trust for the doctors, that they are confident to use something to recommend it to their patients. And then the other side is that the patients are actually trusted themselves as well, actually, at the end of the day. I'm not sure how you will feel if a doctor would recommend something that's not tried out, and what if it fails, you know? What if it will have an implication on your health at the end of the day? But I think the key thing here is to involve the target market, involve the clinicians as much as possible to make sure that you are solving the right problem, and basically just over-validate the problem that you're trying to solve. Because as said, overall, it takes so much time, it takes years in order to get the right evidence. So I think it's sad is the wrong word, but quite sad. Let's say you spend 3 years, and then when you reach the implementation, the clinicians don't see the problem that you're solving.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, let's go back to zero, and you've lost 3 years and quite a lot of money.
It's a good point. We tend to talk about love the problem and scale the outcome. Don't focus so much on the solution, like that will evolve. We don't have much more time. I had many more questions that I wanted to discuss with you, but we're running out of time. Please come and see the panel afterwards if you have follow-up questions. I'd like to thank the audience for listening and the organizers for hosting this panel on such an important topic. And thank you so much.